Welcome to The Problematic Gaze with me, Dave Moor.
And me, Dr. Lee Arnott.
This week, we thought we'd take a different approach. A more holistic, healthy, healing, mindful approach.
You're hungover, aren't you?
I'm really hungover.
Are you going to yak up again?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, for God's sake, here's the bucket.
Hang on, here it comes. Ooh. Hello, gazers.
Hello, gazers.
How are we all?
Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling all right.
Right, good.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a creeping hangover and it hasn't quite hit you yet.
It might not have hit me yet,
Yeah.
mind you, because I was up at 9 o'clock this morning out in the garden doing weeding.
Yeah.
Which probably lends itself to me still being a little bit pissed
Yes, probably.
and getting up and wanting to, do something.
Yes, yeah, while you can.
Yeah, but we had a lovely evening, didn't we?
We did. We
Yes.
did. Yes.
Mandy, our good friend, it was her birthday, so we went out. Are you sweating?
I'm having a hot flush.
I think that's the menopause, darling. Nothing to do with a hangover.
Absolutely boiling.
Oh, all right, actually, I'm pretty cool.
All right.
Do you want me to fan you?
God.
So, yeah, happy birthday, Mandy. It was great. We went out to a local pub. It was like bloody being in the middle of Soho, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Bloody club music, up-tempo music pumping out.
Up-tempo music.
Oh, that's really shit, isn't it?
The throbbing heart of the metropolis is what it
Yes,
felt
the
like.
world was our oyster. We
Yeah, it
walked
was.
outside and we were literally in the only pub in town.
Yeah.
Nowhere else to go but home. So we were good. We were back home by 8 o'clock. They're the best parties, really, aren't they? Out for 6, home for 8.
Yeah. Face down in a pile of pasta by 9.
Yeah, so actually, I had a good 8 hours kip as well. Got to do it at our age,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
We did have a little kitchen disco, didn't we, when we got back?
We did.
Yes.
We did, yeah,
Got
we
some
did.
good video footage that Lee keeps threatening to post on our social media, but I'm keeping a very tight rein over that. Need picture approval. Anything that goes up, please. We did get to talking philosophically. Something I want to raise with you today, because
Yes.
you might not remember.
I don't remember.
We were talking about how, as gay men growing up in the world, you always have a little bit of an inferiority complex about yourself because it's part of being in the closet, feeling not good enough for yourself.
Not
and
normal.
not normal for the world in general.
Mm.
And then when you come out, you gain a lot more confidence, but there is still that residual anxiety of not being perhaps good enough.
Yes.
Which I think is really interesting to kind of explore, not in huge detail, but it is a fascinating concept, isn't it? That you can still hold yourself back.
And quite a few gay men are riddled with internalised homophobia and are self-hating because that's how we were brought up. Oh my God, this is taking a heavy turn, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that really heavy, but sometimes you do approach something with the mindset of, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Rather than, I'm going to try it, see what happens. And
Yeah.
There's no reason why it should fail.
No.
One of my friends, Derek, he was climbing high up the ladder in his chosen career and everything. He's doing really well. And I said to him, aren't you scared sometimes? He said, yeah, I'm scared a lot of times, actually, but I'm not going to let that fear get in the way of what I want to achieve. And I thought, you know what? That's a really good philosophy to have.
And you've never left the house in 10 years, have you?
No. And another great man, who shall remain nameless, once said about your approach in life and where your headspace is that you've got one foot in the past, got one foot in the future, and you're pissing in the present.
That's deep.
You're worried about what might happen. You're worried about what happened in the past, which you've got absolutely no control over.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're just stagnating in the present.
Yeah. You can only control the present. That's all you've got power over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, that's part of our holistic, healthy, mindful
Yes.
therapy
Yes.
that we're imparting in this episode.
In with
Problematic
anger, out with
Gaze.
love, darling.
In with anger, out with love.
And also, happy Mother's Day to the mums out there.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mummy.
Happy Mother's Day, ma'am.
Yes.
And to celebrate the mums, we have a beautiful picture of motherhood to discuss today, haven't we?
We do.
Yeah.
Hence why I wanted to establish the tone of
Yes.
gentleness, kindness, love,
Yes.
warmth.
Yes. And we are going to swerve very sharply
Yeah.
into camp and
Horrific, manipulative.
yeah, as we examine Mommie Dearest.
So yes, from this moment on, dear gazers, all bets are off.
Yes,
okay.
really.
Sensitivity goes out the window. Prepare to have your mind well and truly blown.
Yes. So Mommie Dearest,
Yeah.
released in 1981, What's your relationship to Mommie Dearest?
I've seen it several times over the years. It's not a go-to. Again, it's one of those ones that if it's on, I will watch it, and I've really, really enjoyed it in the past. It's a notorious film. We'll go into the reasons why it's a notorious film. But I've always really enjoyed it. Watching it this time round, a little bit traumatised by it, to be honest. Several of the themes which I've been prepared to overlook in the past really jarred with me this time.
Yeah, the same.
Most notably, the scenes of young children being physically abused.
Yeah, it was a bit grim, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As gay men, we have a relationship with Mommie Dearest, whether we know it or not, because it's one of those kind of camp go-tos, imitated mercilessly by gay men. I mean, the subject matter is camp.
Yes.
It's high camp, isn't it?
So we should just say Mommie Dearest is a sort of biopic based on a book by Joan Crawford's daughter detailing her life with Joan Crawford. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, basically. And it's very much about an ageing Hollywood star and dealing with ageing and, well, we'll get into it.
Yes,
anyway,
absolutely.
So before we do, should we cross over to the news desk to have a look at what was happening in 1981?
Let's do it. Let's go. Why don't we start off with a little bit of good news? Just to kind of get the ball rolling, set the tone.
Yes. Well, the good news, on the 5th of January, Peter Sutcliffe, a 34-year-old lorry driver from Bradford, is arrested and charged for being the Yorkshire Ripper. And in May, he's going to be found guilty. Thank God, he's been killing since 1975. 6 years, gets done for manslaughter, not murder. So he ends up in Broadmoor because he claims he's insane.
Diminished responsibility.
Even though they found in the back of his car evidence that he was premeditating these murders. He wasn't. His defence was that it was
the voices.
Yes, exactly. But it was overlooked. It was never included in the trial. They even found his killing suit, which was a jumper he'd customised.
Yes,
so you could pull it on.
Yes,
while he was doing it. I mean, it was just. Oh. I had a friend who's a forensic psychiatrist, and she was at Broadmoor, and she was waiting to see one of her patients, and she suddenly said she got a real prickle and it kind of felt a bit weird. She turned around and Peter Sutcliffe was looking through the window at her, just staring at her, and she said it was a real moment.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Other news, on the 21st of March, this is a very significant moment in your childhood, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
After 7 years and the longest time playing the title role, Tom Baker leaves Doctor Who and is replaced by Peter Davison in the final episode of the serial Logopolis.
Yeah, I remember my 8-year-old self. It was my first for generation. I can't talk about it.
Oh, darling, no, not when we're in our fragile state of mind today.
Not this morning.
Let's not do it.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
The 4th of April, Bucks Fizz win Eurovision.
Yay!
Come on. Yay! I remember I was on holiday in Yorkshire in Robin Hood's Bay.
Oh, very close.
Yeah, and we watched
neck of the woods.
Yes, we watched it on the telly. I remember losing my mind when they ripped those skirts off. I mean, how basic were we?
It's a cultural moment, though, isn't it?
It really is.
It's something that everybody remembers.
It really, really is. Where were you when the skirts got ripped off? I was in Robin Hood's Bay.
Yeah,
where were you?
I was about 20 miles away from you.
Yeah,
in Scarborough.
Weird? Yeah. Gosh. Few little gay boys.
Yes. Our paths may well have truly crossed some time earlier.
And I remember every time it came on the radio, I would immediately grab the nearest skirt substitute and whip it off at the appropriate moment. Even if it was a towel or a jumper, I'd just whip it off.
If you want to see some
more, yay!
Very good. Okay, on the 11th of May, the first performance of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Cats takes place at the New London Theatre.
Good.
Speaking of the New London Theatre, my mum and dad got married in 1973, went to London for their honeymoon, went to the New London Theatre and watched the first staging of Grease in the UK.
Really? Gosh.
Starring Richard Gere as Danny Zuko.
Wow.
A pre-fame.
Bloody hell.
And Elaine Page as Sandy.
Wow. In June, more than 80 arrests are made during clashes between white power skinheads and black people in Coventry, where the National Front is planning a march later this month on the same day as an anti-racist concert by the Specials. Race is a real problem in 1981. You've got the riots in Brixton, in Toxteth, in Liverpool, all across the country, pretty much all summer. And there's been a fire in New Cross where there was a party and loads of black people got killed. It's a really shitty year. I think this is the year of Ghost Town, that song by the Specials,
Yes.
and that's if any song sums up crap
Yeah,
of 1981.
a very incendiary atmosphere, wasn't there?
Absolutely.
Going around.
Yeah.
Time to buy a hat, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
because on the 29th of July, the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer takes place at St. Paul's Cathedral. More than 30 million viewers watched the wedding on television, the second highest television audience all time in Britain.
Wow. We had a street party.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah. And all that memorabilia. I remember tea towels and plates and T-shirts.
Union Jacks.
Oh, my God. Oh, wasn't she beautiful?
Oh, she was beautiful.
I mean, it's all a bit weird when you look back on it. She's only 19 and he's 32 or something.
Yeah,
Right?
looking back at it retrospectively, it just takes on quite a macabre tone when you watch it now, doesn't it?
Yeah. She goes from shy-eyed, becomes the fairy tale princess. She's not particularly high up in the aristocracy, but it's possible for a girl like Diana to eventually become queen.
Yes.
Well, as we know, spoilers. On the 8th of September, the first episode of Only Fools and Horses is broadcast. That's a really grotty first season. Have you ever watched it recently?
I've not seen it.
There's quite a lot of casual racism in it. It's proper grim, but again, speaks very much of the grimness of 1981.
Yeah. And then on the 12th of December, the first case of AIDS in the UK is diagnosed.
Gosh, seems quite far back, doesn't it? I mean, it's not going to really kick off. Well, it gets ignored while it's still the gays, isn't it?
Yeah, but everyone's kind of shut away, aren't they, on isolated wards at that point.
Yeah, and the gay plague, all of this stuff. I remember when I was researching my PhD, I went to the lesbian and gay newspaper archive and was looking at newspapers from the 80s. My God, does this usher in a new wave of rampant homophobia in the press? What we were saying earlier about this is what we were growing up with. One of the comments in The Sun, needless to say, was that these shirt lifters should be boiled in oil. Bloody hell. It's just unbelievable. Should we have a look at the top movies of the year?
Let's do it.
10th highest grossing film of the year was Private Benjamin.
Love that film.
It's a great film.
Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
Just a tour de force in that film.
Yeah.
And Eileen Brennan, again, a phenomenal performance there. Yeah. Number 9, French Lieutenant's Woman.
Lieutenant?
Is it Lieutenant?
Lieutenant.
Okay.
Not an America.
Well,
Not an American.
see, that's one of the words that I just think, how do you pronounce it? Lieutenant or Lieutenant?
Lieutenant.
Why is it written Lieutenant then?
Why is much of the English language spelt wrongly?
But just because you say that's the right way of saying it...
I don't. Everybody does.
Well, just because everybody says it's the right way of saying it doesn't mean they're all right.
Are you raging against the whole of the UK-speaking population?
The system.
It was lieutenant. American pronunciations are different because back in the day when America got independence, they deliberately pronounced words differently to the UK in order to show that they were an independent nation. So if you want to slap our ancestors in the faces with the lieutenant, knock yourself out.
Do the Americans say lieutenant?
They say lieutenant. We say lieutenant.
So all the Americans are wrong then?
They did it deliberately to differentiate themselves from us. But yes, they are.
Okay, I just wanted to establish. Speaking of Americans, number 8.
Oh, it's American Werewolf in London, which we have covered in an earlier episode, haven't we?
Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast, lycanthropic friend of the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number 7, Chariots of Fire. Mm-hmm. Dollarama.
God, men running on a beach, that's all you need to know. 9 to 5, number
on the other
6.
hand.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great film.
I think that'd be a good one to watch. Let's put that on the list.
Yes, put that on the list. And Private Benjamin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Female fight against the patriarchy.
Absolutely.
Plus, it's got Dolly Parton in it.
Absolutely.
Number 5, absolute classic, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, brilliant film. Need to say nothing more. Number 4, Any Which Way You Can. Clint Eastwood and an orangutan. That
was a big film, and I remember really liking it at the time. I think if I watched it now, I probably wouldn't like it as much. It's of its time, wasn't it?
Yes.
Number 3, Flash.
You'll save every one of us.
Very good.
Yeah, great film as well.
I used to really fancy him.
So did I.
Yeah.
Oh my God, but I used to fancy Ming the Merciless more.
You've said that before, and I backed away from that because it's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah. Number 2,
For Your Eyes Only.
Great film. I love James Bond. I mean, when you look at them now, they're quite dated in their production style. Some of the dialogue is a bit naff, but they've got a charm to them, the old Bond films, I think.
Yeah. What was number 1? What was the biggest? Superman 2.
Wow.
Yeah. great film as well. And we've talked about how we fancied the three villains.
Oh, yeah. In their black PVC /
my
latex
God.
/ leather.
Be still my beating heart.
Gorgeous. All three of them.
All
They were
three of
just
them.
so sexy.
Yeah. I think Sarah Douglas is a bit of
Yes.
a crush on her.
I think I had a bit of crush on her as well.
Yeah.
Do you think she knows that she's a bit of a gay icon?
She totally knows.
Does she?
Yeah, she totally knows.
She lock it up.
Yeah.
Good for her.
She does a lot of stuff. I think she lives in Brighton, but she does a lot of stuff at Pride and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. She's very aware of her gay audience. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think she's also very aware that she was an awakening
Yes.
for lots of people.
Yeah.
Should we have a look at the pop charts? So this is the top 40 of the 22nd of November, 1981. Well, I don't recognise any of those until number 16, Happy Birthday, Altered Images.
Fabulous song.
Fabulous song.
She was great, Claire Grogan, wasn't she?
Great, really
She was
good.
kind of like an every woman, wasn't she? Or every girl.
Yeah, super cool.
Number 15, Daddy's Home, Cliff Richard.
I mean, that just makes me feel a bit icky.
It does,
I've never even heard the song, but...
Can you imagine Cliff Richard walking into your house and going,
Daddy's home.
Daddy's home?
I feel a bit soiled. Stepping Out, Cool in the Gang, number 14.
Very good. When She Was My Girl, The Four Tops, number 13.
I, Moosey, Modern Romance, at number 12.
I had never heard
I'm
that.
sure you probably know it if you heard
Okay.
it. It's one of those ones, yeah.
Tonight I'm Yours, Don't Hurt Me, which is what I said to you last night, by Rod Stewart. One of his lesser-known songs, I would say, that one.
Oh, number 10, I Go to Sleep, The Pretenders. That's written about her dog that died.
Oh.
Yeah, I go to sleep and I dream that I'm still with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. A bit emotional.
Can't do anything.
It's the hangover. Oh, no. Anything to do with doggies dying,
No.
I'm not very good at.
Bless.
Number 9, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police.
Yeah, my dad was a big Police fan. Physical, Olivia Newton-John.
I think we had a little bit of a bop to this in our kitchen disco last
Yes,
night.
we did. We did.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a video and a half, isn't
Oh.
it? Oh, Onge, greased up to the eyeballs with all them muscly
All
men
them
around
muscly
her.
men.
Oh, that was an awakening for sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, looking at it now, looking at it last night, there's a lot of kind of heavier men in the video that are being ridiculed for not having
Yes.
physical perfection.
Yes, yeah.
Which is a little bit.
Yeah, but thankfully they got rid of and the gorgeous guys come in.
The gorgeous guys come in. And they are, for 1981, I would say they look quite modern
The aesthetic,
versions of
yeah.
the male aesthetic, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. And Olivia Newton-John really looks like my mum in that video.
Oh.
My mum's hair was exactly the same as Olivia Newton-John's.
Right.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Your mum's quite glam, isn't she?
Yeah, she was young, so she was always super trendy as well.
Yeah.
Apart from the shell suit era.
Ah.
But everyone had shell suits in about 1984, 85.
Yeah, my mum was very, very glam. She always used to go out dressed to the nines and everything.
Right.
Dressed up. Speaking of EastEnders, as we did, and Angie making a reappearance.
Yes.
You know, during that period when Angie was there, I do remember my mum having a silk shirt with a black pussy bow.
Oh, I
And
love a pussy bow.
Don't walk next to any naked flames when you're wearing
God,
that.
you'll be up like a rocket. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, number 7, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Diana Ross.
I don't know.
Don't
Why
ask
do they?
me.
Don't ask
I don't
me.
know.
Don't ask me. OMD, Joan of Arc at number 6. Don't know it.
No, number 5, Bed Sitter. That's Bed Sitter, not
Yeah.
Bedwetter.
Or bed shitter.
Yes, by Soft Cell. I do remember that one.
Yeah, it's a great
Yes,
song.
yes.
Yeah, really great song. Favourite shirts, Boy Meets Girl, Haircut 100. You'll know that one as well when you hear
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I know we're at number 4 now, but it's been a pretty good chart so far for
It
things
really
we
has.
recognise.
Yes, really has.
No
yeah.
shaky.
No shaky. Still no shaky.
Number 3, Let's Groove, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Earth,
Yeah.
Wind and Fire, that was us last night, Joe.
Yeah, it was.
One
Well,
of us
you were the
definitely-
wind.
Yeah, one of us is definitely windy this morning.
I was the fire.
Number 2, Begin the Begin, Julio Iglesias. That's a great song.
I've never really got the whole Julio Iglesias
I didn't really
phenomenon.
get it, no, but I remember it at the time. Should we see what's number 1?
Let's do it. Under Pressure, Queen and David Bowie.
That's it.
I have to think before I say Bowie now.
Yeah.
I got chastised for saying it wrong.
Yes. 2 Titans music there.
I wonder what it was like in the studio with David Bowie and
David who?
David Bowie and Freddie Mercury.
I imagine they had a lot of fun.
2 Titans at the top of their game.
Like us.
darling. Oh, we're in sync again.
Right, fasten your seatbelt, everybody. It's time to take a deep dive into Mommie Dearest from 1981. Tell us about the film, Dave.
Mommie Dearest is a 1981 American biographical psychological drama directed by Frank Perry and starring Faye Dunaway, Steve Forrest, Mara Habel and Diana Scarwid. Hope I'm saying that all right. So it's adapted from Christina Crawford's, which is Joan Crawford's adopted daughter, 1978 autobiography of the same name. Often considered to be one of the worst films ever made.
That's an accolade, isn't it?
It was nominated for 9 Razzies at the second Golden Raspberry Awards and won 5, including Worst Picture and Worst Actress for Faye Dunaway.
We'll get into that.
Yes, we will.
Should I tell the listeners what happens in Mommie Dearest?
Do it.
In this heartwarming tale of motherhood and celebrity, Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, wants a baby and wants to maintain her career. With the latter succumbing to that old Hollywood curse, that of an aging woman, her obsessive cleanliness and need for routine is taken out on her adopted daughter, Christina. As their story develops and Christina gets older, some things are clear. Joan likes a drink and a younger man. Christina can't get a decent wig. And no one better have a wire coat hanger in their closet.
Wow. Okay, so a lot to dissect in this.
Yes.
Where do we start?
Well, let's start at the very beginning, just like Maria from The Sound of Music, because the film opens with Joan having to get up very early and do her skin and beauty regime. I mean, she's clearly got obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yes.
That's what we're looking at, the routine she has to do. And she's then filmed getting on set very early to get her makeup done. And it reminded me of Grace Kelly when she realised that Hollywood was no longer for her because her makeup calls were getting earlier and earlier. I think she got called to do makeup at 5 a.m. and got there, and Joan Crawford had already been there for 2 hours.
Wow.
And it was that point she realised time to get out of Hollywood. Is there a prince in the house, perhaps?
We should caveat all of this, I think, just by saying that this is adapted from a book by Christina, the adopted daughter. It's been contested quite vehemently by several camps that perhaps Christina over-accentuated the real-life events that she wrote about in her book, potentially for financial gain, to be more sensational. And there are some camps that say this abuse never happened, while others are saying yes.
Including her siblings.
Yes, including her siblings. And there are others who are saying, well, we witnessed it, so yes. So we're going to talk about this as a story rather than factual real-life events. I think that's probably fair to say.
Yes, definitely. One of the themes of this film, which we've talked about, for instance, in The Substance, in The Comeback, is the treatment women get as they age and how aging is the worst thing a woman can do, especially in film and television. Television, not so much, but definitely film and definitely Hollywood.
Yes.
And we see the extraordinary lengths Joan goes to keep herself looking young. I mean, famously, she's already had her back teeth removed and ribs removed when she first gets to Hollywood to change her face and give her a slimmer appearance. But there's some quite extraordinary shots of her in that kind of Jacob Marley, where she's got that white bandage around her face to keep her jawline intact and stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of exercising going on as well, to the point of obsessiveness, to keep herself slim.
Yeah.
You know, there were a few scenes with the Hollywood executives, all invariably male, telling her that she's getting old, her films aren't doing as well, and being released from contracts, her having to scramble around, really fight for roles, and using all the tricks, the manipulations in the book to keep herself relevant, to the point of inviting film cameras round to record her kids' birthday parties, recordings of Christmas messages, etc., all designed to kind of like build this myth of Joan Crawford as megastar.
Yeah, she's very much a product of the studio system and is a slave of the studio system, you know, and has no power within the studio system and is very much a commodity, isn't she?
Yes.
And it does speak of that lack of agency that those women had. And when they're washed up, then it's all over for them, isn't it? You know, and as soon as that label box office poison is bandied, well, your career's over, isn't it? You know?
I mean, you could say, okay, as a Hollywood star, you see it a million times prior to you, a star on the ascendancy and then a star on the descendancy. And you could ask yourself, why don't you just accept that's what's happening? Why do you have to keep fighting for it? You've earned money, you've had the fame, you've had the fortune, and now somebody younger is going to come and take your place. I'm sure that there are some people who say, okay, that's all part of the process. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to go out, do other things with my life. I don't need to keep chasing that dream, so to speak. But Joan can't do that. And a lot of Hollywood stars can't do that, can they?
No.
It must be intoxicating, alluring.
But also doesn't happen to men. Men are allowed to carry on and their appearances never come into question. They never get that whole box office poison thing labelled at them.
Yeah.
If you think of Rear Window, the Hitchcock movie, you know, Jimmy Stewart must be in his 50s then, and he's having a relationship with Grace Kelly, who's in her 20s, you know, which just wouldn't happen for an older actress.
Yes.
But also, you know, if that's all you know, you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
But if you've been so inured by that studio system, once you're kind of thrown on the scrap heap, it must be terrifying, you know, because you can't do anything else.
And also, you built up a lifestyle for yourself.
Yeah.
That's pretty expensive. You know, the big mansions, you know, heating the pool.
Yeah.
The food you eat, the staff you hire still need to be paid for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, it is a pretty desperate time, isn't it? I mean, I would say that Joan Crawford, as the way she's depicted in this movie, takes it to the extreme.
She's playing the star, you know, that's the role she's crafted for herself. The persona of Joan Crawford is all-consuming, it appears, and she's unable to let it go. And when reality does crash into her later in the film, she can't handle it, she can't handle it at all, you know, and she can't handle later on when she's married to the Pepsi Cola guy, and they don't have as much money as, you know, they thought. She can't handle that. Yeah. She can't have brakes put on it, you know, because she is Joan Crawford, the star.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so she adopts the baby.
Yes.
Later on in the movie, older Christina, because there are two versions of Christina, or three if you count the baby.
Yes.
And then there's Christina, very young girl Christina.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how old she is, but I would say probably about
7
10,
or 8.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And then there's the older Christina, it's like more adult Christina, that kind of goes from being about 15 to probably mid-20s in this film, I would say.
All of them in terrible wigs.
All in terrible wigs.
My God, the wigs are awful.
Yeah. She's confronted later on in the movie by the older Christina, who asks, why did you adopt me? And Joan admits that part of the reason she adopted her was because it would be good for my career. To adopt a baby, just to put yourself in the headlines, to promote yourself as Earth Mother / Hollywood star. Yeah. Adds an extra kind of dimension to your persona.
Yeah. I mean, they're props, aren't they?
Yes.
Basically. Well, this film very much presents it that she uses them as props.
Yes.
They're another tool that she can deploy to, again, present the image, a certain image that she wants to convey.
But it soon turns very nasty.
Yes, it does.
Christina starts to get attention, and very subtly you can see Joan in the background thinking, the attention's being diverted away from me a little bit by her lovers, by the media.
She doesn't like it. She's horribly competitive with Christina. There's that dreadful scene where she's racing her in the pool and she won't let her win.
No.
You know, she'll
to the point
I'll give you a head start.
Yes, you know? To the point where Christina almost drowns.
Yes, yeah. Let's go to the abuse in this film, because in amongst this camp froth, this is a camp film.
Yes,
there's no
really
getting away from it. And we will talk about Faye Dunaway's performance, undoubtedly. But there are some quite horrible scenes of Christina getting smacked, getting beaten, having her hair really violently cut off by Joan. Again, a terrible wig moment.
Yes.
But it's really unpleasant to watch, isn't it?
I would like to say they were kind of like skillfully handled by the director as well, but they weren't. It was gratuitous. It felt really voyeuristic. It felt as though we were supposed to be enjoying these scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just couldn't now.
No, it was horrible. It was really horrible. When they were making this film, there was talk of this film being an Oscar contender, you know, because, I mean, again, nobody sets out to make a shit film.
No.
I suppose they wanted to get the grit of the drama of it, but it just, because the rest of the film is so ridiculous, it's really horrible. Yeah. And it's unpleasant to watch.
I mean, I think it probably would have been more effective. The physical abuse is just one element of the abuse. There's the psychological abuse ruling over the child with the fear of what might happen.
Yeah.
Which is another form of abuse in itself.
Yeah.
But this physical abuse that was very much visual on the camera, I thought could have been handled more sensitively, but with more power by what we talked about in Reservoir Dogs last week, implying that's what's happening, but turning the camera away from it.
Yeah.
You know, you still know it's happening.
Yeah, you don't need to see it, do you?
But by seeing it and by presenting it, it's like, here we are, this is the physical abuse of a child for your delectation, for your entertainment.
Yes, yeah. It doesn't reveal anything more about the characters. It doesn't. No. It's just plonked in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, Crawford says at one point that she doesn't want a spoiled Hollywood brat just because she's Crawford's daughter. And Faye Dunaway wanted to play this part because she thought it was going to be an in-depth examination of the psychology of Joan Crawford. But you don't get that. You don't get any of that. Joan Crawford had a really shit upbringing, poverty-stricken. And that drove her work ethic constantly. Yeah. One of the other reasons why she would never let it go is because she was always striving. She had the fear of slipping back into that poverty existence that she had. Yeah. But there's no examination of why she does this, why she...
No, there must have been a reason why. What was it about her childhood? Was she abused as a child? Is she psychologically disturbed? Got psychopathic tendencies? There was a medical explanation as to why she was abusing this child.
It's
just there, and it's not, like you say, it's not explored.
No.
But anyway.
It's grim.
Yeah.
It's really grim.
It's grim. Why don't we just segue away from that slightly and talk about Faye Dunaway?
I mean, her performance is ramped up to the max, isn't it? Yeah. To be fair, at the time, the critics were kind of split. Not everybody denigrated it, and not everybody says it was dreadful. No. It's committed performance, you know. Yeah. And she's very much a method actor and lost herself in Joan Crawford, and has said in retrospect, you know, that she'd get home and she'd be unable to leave Joan Crawford. And I can't remember, there was a great quote, basically something, when she got home each night, the spirit of Joan Crawford, this tormented woman, would be with her. And it's bonkers.
It's bonkers. I think it's brilliant.
It is.
Talking about directors working with actors, would you, as a director, have attempted to approach Faye Dunaway and say, okay, Faye, it's all looking a little bit one note. It's all very heightened. I wonder if there are moments where we could claw it back, tone it down a little, just to give Joan a little bit of a range.
Yes, bit of light and dark, Faye. Yeah.
But, I mean, woe betide any director who would try to approach Faye Dunaway.
Who is notoriously difficult.
Yes.
And I hate using that word difficult, but she was apparently a fucking nightmare to work with. Yes. There's a famous clip of Betty Davis on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he says, who was the worst person you've ever worked with? And unashamedly, she just goes, Faye Dunaway. She was a fucking nightmare. Other cast members of this movie have said she was a nightmare. And when she wasn't on set, it was really nice and pleasant, but the second she rocks up, you're just like, she was hideous to work with.
There's a moment, isn't there, towards the end of the film where she physically attacks the older Christina, has her on the floor, is strangling her. And Carol Ann, the housemaid, and a journalist who's doing a piece on Joan Crawford at the time try and intervene. And apparently, during the filming of that scene, Faye Dunaway was so engrossed in her character, was being so, well, it wasn't being method about it, it was just basically she lacked the discipline that an actor should always have in a fight scene. She just went for it and tossed these two people aside who were trying to pull her off. They got injured. Just a nightmare.
Gosh.
You know.
There are so many moments in this movie which have, rightly so, passed into popular culture. You can mention wire coat hangers and everybody will know what you're talking about. And if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and just put wire coat hangers in Mommie Dearest, and you'll see the very famous, immediately imitated by drag queens.
Cena, Bring Me the Axe.
Which apparently didn't happen. It's not in the book.
Oh, really?
That whole tree chopping scene, the wire coat hangers, was not in the book. And Christina Crawford hated this film.
Oh,
afterwards.
really?
Yeah, she thought it was an absolute travesty of what she'd written. And I can kind of get her point, because actually what you get is this over-the-top drag queen performance, isn't it? That kind of takes away from the story of the abuse that just overshadows the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, don't fuck with me, fellas. This isn't my first rodeo. The lines are just, if you don't watch it for what it is and watch it instead as if it's just another one of those hagsploitation movies in the same vein as Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, kind of makes sense. I did wonder at one point if I could turn the colour down on my TV and watch it in black and white.
Yeah.
Because I think it would actually kind of work. Yeah. Because it is just nonsense.
It really is. But I do maintain that I think she gives a brilliant performance, regardless of what was going on backstage.
Yeah. You're right. It's a phenomena.
Yeah.
But she must have been so tired. And those scenes where she loses it.
It's even the scenes where she doesn't lose it, but she gives that look like this could really kick off now. Yeah. And I think that's one of the positive things about this film is it really gives a sense of how Christina must have felt around her, where, you approach her and you think, what type of Mommie Dearest are we going to get today?
Yes.
We're going to get the loving, caring one, or we're going to get the one that's literally going to get me in a chokehold and beat me with wire coat hangers.
Yeah, you would never know who's going to...
She could just go off at any moment. The psychological manipulation.
We have to talk about the reaction at the time because, as I said, they thought this was going to be an Oscar contender. They thought it was genuinely a deep dive into the psychology and the psychodrama. Very quickly realised that audiences are pissing themselves laughing when they're watching it. And they do an absolute about turn in their marketing campaign. The first poster is Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford. I think it's within 2 months. They've scrapped all that while the film's out. The poster now has wire coat hangers.
Really?
Yeah. And it says like the meanest mother of them all, because the audience are just pissing themselves laughing at it. And very quickly those kind of Oscar hopes and this is a worthy film wither on the vine.
Oh my
really
goodness.
Quickly,
Yeah. You just think while they were making this film, aren't there studio executives upstairs watching the rushes and the dailies going, this isn't what we're paying money for. This isn't, all part of the script development process.
Yeah.
Or wasn't there anyone to rein the director in?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't put all the blame on Faye Dunaway's door.
No.
The director's got a huge part to play in this as well.
And she said, she got little or no direction. It goes back to that thing, are you able to offer Faye Dunaway direction? But certainly there seems to have been a breakdown within that relationship. And she has said that she felt very much alone in this with very little feedback.
Yeah, I can see a point where the director probably just switched off and just thought, this is fucking lost cause. I've just been paid to do this movie. I've just got to get it out.
Yeah. It's gone through 6 writers.
Yeah.
6 writers have had a go at trying to turn the book into a screenplay. So it's already had a troubled history. Yeah. Anne Bancroft was originally mooted to play Joan Crawford, but she very quickly read the script and she was like, no, not for me, thanks.
So obviously we've got this director-star dynamic going on, but also the executive producers of the films, one of them was Christina Crawford's husband, and the other one was Terry O'Neill, who is Faye Dunaway's boyfriend at the time, soon to be husband. So there's that dynamic going on. I think as a director as well, you haven't got it just coming from your lead actress. You've got it coming from the people upstairs as well.
Yeah.
Who knows what machinations, Faye Dunaway's going back, living with her boyfriend, who's the exec producer, and has got his ear. The way the Hollywood machinery works is quite fickle, quite clandestine sometimes. I mean, this is only my opinion, but I think that probably contributed to the mess of this movie.
Yeah.
Again, it's a bit like, have you researched Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni yet?
I did look briefly.
Yes, well, and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
All very reminiscent of that kind of power play going on behind the scenes of a movie.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. It's a long film.
It's long.
Oh my God, it's over 2 hours long. And does a lot of it is like a TV movie, isn't it? Partly because the direction is so flat.
Yeah.
But also it just seems to be like one little sequence after another.
Yes.
It's often unrelated. Just this bit here is what's going to happen. then on to something else that's going to happen here. You know,
Little vignettes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the shooting style of this movie was very made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
You can tell that the lighting was done on the cheap here. It was all very brightly lit.
Yeah.
None of it lended towards being a cinematic film at all. It was just very much TV film.
Yeah, I remember when I read Mommie Dearest years ago, the bit where my jaw dropped was when Christina eventually ends up as an actress on a soap and she gets ill in hospital. And so Joan steps in and takes her role. Joan Crawford's like mid-50s by this point, playing a 24-year-old. In the book, she wakes up in a hospital bed, Christina, switches on the TV, and there's her mother playing her in, you know.
That was amazing. That sequence was so fun and camp and ridiculous.
So camp. And Joan's on the drink by this point.
Yeah.
You know, she marries the head of Pepsi.
Yeah.
And famously has Pepsi everywhere she goes. And when she's filming Baby Jane, she always has Pepsi on the table. The bottle was filled with vodka, basically.
Wow.
And they just touch on her alcoholism. She was a big drinker towards the end.
Yeah, it kind of was alluded to that she died, but, you know, very kind of pitiful, sad, lonely death. Yeah. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Because her daughter obviously loved her towards the end.
Yeah.
You know, all the way through to the end.
Yeah, because there's no kind of continuity in this film, their relationship is... I mean, you said earlier... You know, that as the daughter probably didn't know what kind of Mommie Dearest she's going to get that day. As a viewer, you don't really know what their relationship's going to be in this scene. No, you know,
there's no resolution to the conflict, is there?
No.
Which, you know, is that in every story, there's got to be a resolution. And the only resolution was that Joan died.
Yeah. But then there's that brilliant very last shot when Christopher and Christina realise they've got nothing left in the will. Joan's got 2 other kids, twins, again adopted, and she leaves them the money. In her will, she says, you know, and to Christina and Christopher, they get nothing, and they know why. And Christopher says, well, just like Mum, to always have the last word. And then Christina kind of looks at the camera and goes, or will she? Yeah, it's so camp.
Very moustache twirly, wasn't it?
And it lingers on her, that final shot, like,
yeah. There was so many camp elements to this film, and I really loved them. There was a point where Joan was jogging. The way Faye Dunaway played Joan jogging was very much like Phoebe in Friends.
Right.
And you could tell just prior to the take, the costume guy was there with the squirter.
The sweat, to get the sweat on.
Yeah, the proper sweat thing. That was just so over the top.
But she's also jogging with her servant driving the car beside her.
Yeah.
You know? Again, that whole performance of being a star, you know, you can't let it go. You've always got to have that standard, haven't you?
I'm just going to pluck scenes out of the ether now because
there's plenty to...
There was a fun fair that she had in her back garden for one of Christina's birthdays when she was a little girl. It was the most hideous fun fair, camp over the top fun fair I'd ever seen. Yeah. They had a knife juggler.
Yes.
At a kid's birthday party, which I thought was quite strange. You know, there's cameras there to record this all.
Yeah. Which is to actually happen. You can see the photographs of that birthday party.
So it's all there to promote Joan Crawford's movie stars' wonderful home life for her daughter Christina's birthday. And then they have to stage photos of Christina opening a present. But not fully opening them.
Yes.
And then later on, she's only allowed to keep one present. She has to give the rest to the homeless.
Yeah.
So even that in itself is a form of emotional abuse to a child, isn't it?
Yeah. And Joan's like, what's your favourite present, Christina? You know, she's not looking at her. And she goes, it's yours, Mommie Dearest. And she's like, but you're not keeping the rest.
Oh,
you know?
God. There's a really camp moment. Christina is talking to her dolls and she's telling the dolls off like Joan tells her off. Yeah. She's basically emulating her mother of the conversation, which is what a lot of little girls do, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you kind of repeat conversations like you've heard to your dollies. Joan sees this and is really put out by it. It's kind of like having a mirror held up against you. Yeah. And then the Christina goes off to play somewhere else, comes back, dolls missing. Yeah. And she goes in and says, Mommie Dearest, someone's stolen my dolls. And Joan's a bit like, really?
Yeah. She's such a cow.
She's such a CUNT to her daughter. She really is. talking about box office poison, etc., Joan is summoned to Louis B. Mayer's office, is told, basically, she's box office poison, and then she's kind of cast out of the studio, basically, and the whole studio know it before she does. He's like, we've packed up your dressing room already.
Brutal, isn't it?
It's really brutal.
Yeah.
And that's what prompts her to go home and chop up all her roses. And we see Christopher in bed.
Oh, he's tied down to the bed, isn't he?
He's tied down to the bed at night.
I know.
And then later on, Christina unlocks him and says, don't tell Mummy I've unlocked you.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, that's nuts.
Where do you even begin with that?
And then there's the moment where Christina just starts rebelling and like looking at her mother like, F you.
Yeah.
It's when she's made to eat her steak and she refuses to eat her steak.
Yeah.
Basically gets made to sat for hours on end looking at this uneaten steak.
Well, over 2 days.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to have any other food. So each time she refuses it, it gets put back in the fridge. Next mealtime, it's brought out.
Yeah.
Until Christina eats it. And then eventually Joan relents.
Yeah.
And I remember in the book reading that bit, and Christina's talking about how she was feeling lightheaded. She hasn't eaten for 2 days, you know, and everyone is forbidden to help her. I mean, it's fucking horrible.
It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible. But then there's always this look of fuck you from Christina, isn't there?
Yeah.
You could tell like the rebellion signs were there quite early.
Yeah.
A sign of resilience.
Yeah.
Which you can see that Joan sees and fears slightly because she's just not in control of this girl.
Yeah. I mean, there's also that scene where Christina is in front of Joan's mirror and she's pretending that she's accepting an award, isn't she? And Joan stealths in behind her and stands watching her, and then she's like, "What are you doing?" You know, and she starts cutting her hair off, and it's like, she's going, "Mommy, no," you know.
And again, just playing like any normal child would do, who's got a famous mummy, would, you know, reenact receiving an Oscar. Well, we've all done it, haven't we, in the mirror of our hairbrush?
Yeah.
So there was a really good bit, which we've kind of touched on before, which is when Tina, in later years, has been sent home from boarding school because she's been caught smooching a boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Joan is infuriated by.
She's furious, isn't she?
And brings Christina home and tells the journalist she was expelled from school, which isn't exactly true. Joan's taken her out of the school. So there's this standoff between Christina and Joan, and Christina says to Joan, "Why did you adopt me?" And then Joan says, "It might have been just for a little extra publicity."
Yeah.
These barbs are flying between them. And then Joan screams at Tina, "Why can't you give me the respect that I'm entitled to?"
Yeah.
And Tina retorts, "Because I'm not one of your fans."
Yeah.
That sends Joan
off it.
over the edge, hurtles towards her, pushes her to the ground and proceeds to strangle her daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To the point of near death.
Yes. Yeah. To the point where she had to be pulled off for real. And it's interesting because Faye Dunaway is 40 when this film was made.
Right.
And is very much about the same age as Joan Crawford, you know, is probably facing the same kind of existential things about her own career, you know, the way the works. For years, she just refused to talk about this film. It barely gets a line in her autobiography. Only very recently, she started to be a bit more open about it. And she said, and I quote, this was an interview in 2016, "I think it turned my career in the direction where people would irretrievably have the wrong impression of me. And that's an awful hard thing to beat. I should have known better, but sometimes you're vulnerable and you don't realise what you're getting into." It speaks a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Even though she's giving this powerhouse performance, she's still, ironically, got very little power within the actual making of this movie.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say?
I've got one thing. Alex Davison, who's writing for the British Film Institute, kind of summed this film up. He said, "The film's been savagely embraced by queer audiences. Drag queens outdo each other for the fiercest impersonation of Faye Dunaway in Crawford mode. And who doesn't want to be part of a whiplash audience, whatever that is? Well, possibly Christina Crawford, who has seen her harrowing history of child abuse transformed into a gay pantomime. Watching audiences howl with laughter as your avatar is beaten and throttled must be a sobering experience." I mean, kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflict within the movie and around this movie.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Yes.
In its defence, on balance, I thought what it really did well was depict Joan Crawford's life as much a performance as one of her many movie roles.
Which again kind of chimes in. If you watch it in the same vein as Baby Jane in What Happened to Baby Jane, or Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, if you watch it in the same kind of vein as those movies, it makes sense because it is the story of a ex-Hollywood who can't let go of the performance. And it does, you're right, it does do that really well. But in terms of being an earnest exploration of psychology and stuff, what a load of So what would you give this movie? What would you rate it?
Like you, I think we're coming from the same place.
Yeah.
I would give it 4 Golden Raspberry Awards out of 10.
Yeah. As a movie, I'm going to give it 4 white coat hangers out of 10.
Yeah.
As a piece of camp pantomime, I'm going to give it absolutely 10 wire coat hangers out of 10. Don't watch this movie if you want a good movie, though. Well, that was Mommie Dearest. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Remember to love your mummies if you have them.
Don't
still
fuck
around.
with your mama, fellas.
Don't fuck with your mama.
What are we turning our gaze on to next episode, Dave?
Well, we're skidding to a very big halt and decamping. In 2004, where we're going to be watching cult UK sitcom Nighty Night.
Nighty Night.
Starring and written by the magnificent Julia Davis.
Yeah, I mean, another powerhouse performance for a very different level, but wow, I'm looking forward to that.
I really am. I really am. Yeah, it's one of my favourites.
Yes.
It stars a plethora
of stars.
From the UK comedy scene.
Yeah.
So you might have watched it already and be a huge fan, in which case tune in. If you haven't, we'll post some links up. So if you did like what you've heard, please follow us on our socials, which is at Podcast Gaze on Instagram and TikTok. And if you want to email us, comment about anything you've heard or suggest future topics, please email us at theproblematicgaze@gmail.com.
Indeed. Yes. Right, I'm off into your garden to chop down your trees and dig up all your roses. What are you up to?
You better bloody not do it. It's taking bloody ages to get them all planted. I'm going to go and scrub my arms and face in boiling water and then plunge it into an ice cold ice bath.
Lovely.
Yes. A la Joan Crawford. Get rid of a few of these wrinkles.
Yeah. David, fetch me an axe!
I have actually got an axe.
Very good.
Do you want to borrow it?
Off I pop.
Yes. Got a mallet, an axe, a strimmer.
Oh my God.
Got everything.
Let's not get carried away.
Got a blower.
All right, pack it in. Until next time.
Until next time on The Problematic Gaze.
Au reservoir.
Au reservoir.